Top of the morning to you. It is the Bicoastal Baseball Podcast on the Grid Network. I'm Mike Guido. That's Dalton Brown. It is great to have you here on a Monday evening. Donning the hat today, changing it up, hopefully changing the course for the Yankees a little bit, bringing that sort of luck. Dalton Brown over there donning a Kansas City Royals cap. How you feeling today, my friend?
Good. I didn't put two and two together that the Royals are playing the Yankees.
Yeah, Royals are playing the Yankees.
So in that sense, it was not on purpose. It was just the hat on my heap of hats that was speaking to me. So, but no, man, doing well. Mike and I were just having a scintillating conversation before we came on air about snapback hats. And Mike and I both have rather large domes. I'm a size 8. He's pretty close to it.
Yeah.
And New Era came out with like this new hat type that they're calling the 970, and it's like a stretch snap. So free advertising for New Era to our tiny audience.
That's a game changer, dude. It really is. That's the
stretch
snapbacks are a game changer for guys with big heads.
And the thing is, it looks legit. Like, it doesn't look like a flex fit hat. It looks like a legit snapback, which, you know, I've never really been able to wear one. So cool.
No, neither have I. Because it's embarrassing. You know, you're on the last, whatever. You're on the last or second to last.
Looks terrible. Yeah,
it just doesn't look good. You know, the thing, you get like the fold, something like that in the bed. It just looks terrible. But we have plenty of stuff to go over today. By the way, super pumped again before we even get into baseball. Rory McIlroy winning the Masters this weekend. That was pretty electric. How's your golf game, Dalton? You any good?
You know, I haven't played in probably about 2 years at this point, but I would really like to get back out on the course. Now, when I was like my senior year in college, I played almost every day. And for like the first 6-7 years after college, I played at least probably once a week. All of that to say I was thrilled on days where I shot under 100.
Yeah.
You know, so I can play golf at like enough of a level that I can go out and have fun with anybody on the golf course. But I am not a good golfer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to be a good golfer. It's really, really hard to be a good golfer. I mean, I always say this: if you're not on tour, you suck at golf. I think I always, you know, it's one or the other. You know, you're whatever. That's how I feel about it. It's sort of the same way with me. If I break 100, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. If I hit a few good shots every time I go out, I'm feeling pretty good. You know, I'm not hooking, 7 irons around trees on 15 like Rory did at Augusta this weekend.
I finish up my round and I'm like looking back fondly at the one hole that I managed to finish in par, maybe.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Nope. That's 100%. There are times I don't keep score just because I don't feel like it. But yes, we do have plenty to talk about today. That is baseball related. Are the Cubs undervalued? Like, they've had a very, very nice start to the season. They've gone through a very tough schedule to begin the year as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. There are some teams in Major League Baseball right now that have kind of started surprisingly well, right? The San Francisco Giants, the Angels, the Detroit Tigers are another team that we could talk about in that discussion. Which of those teams do we kind of buy into the most? Who's kind of a pretender of those teams? We'll discuss that a little bit later as well. We have a great week ahead of us as far as actual series of games are concerned. And the Minnesota Twins, I mean, it's possible that Dalton and I are both wrong about them again. I mean, it's just, it's disappointing the way that things are going for the Twins and how they have gone for the past couple of seasons. But as we do before every show, quick shout out here to EJ Savage hosting the Boys in the Zone podcast for the Grid Network and the NFL Draft Show that him and I co-host together. So big shouts to EJ Savage, my boy. But as we do before every show, Dodgers, Yankees, Dalton, the defending champs, the Dodgers. What do you have?
Yeah. I mean, it's April 14th. So I preface it with that, but they've played really shit baseball for like 10 days now. 3 consecutive series losses to the Phillies, Nationals, and Cubs. I get it. Like, the pitching is still kind of figuring itself out. Blake Snell going on the shelf hurts when he's a guy that you kind of needed to eat innings early in the season. Justin Robleski came up with it for a spot start and was like unbelievably terrible, which happens. Roki is still figuring out like how to throw strikes consistently, which, I'm willing to be patient with him. Like, it's going to take some time. He's 23 years old. He's
a baby, right?
But he's still like, he's starting to figure it out. His last 2 starts, he's like wiggled out of stuff and he's starting to look quite a bit better. The thing that is frustrating to watch, it's not so much about the results right now. Like, at the end of the day, they're 11-6. They're fine. Like, they're going to win 100 some odd games. Like, I'm not worried. But I don't like the sloppiness. I don't like the defensive miscues. I don't like the bad at bats. In the Cubs series alone, there were like 6 fly balls that were like 90% plus catch expectancy of StatCast that weren't caught. And like, those don't necessarily show up as errors, but just guys getting bad jumps, like guys not being locked in. I think that bleeds into the at-bats as well. When all of a sudden Ben Brown and Colin Ray are both like shutting you down on back-to-back days, that says something about where your team's at mentally. When you put 4 runs up on Jake Irvin in the first inning in Washington and you let him get through 6 strong innings after that, that says a lot about your level of focus, where you're kind of just, taking your foot off the gas. And so I think like it's hard for me to blame them too much. Like, you played as deep as you can play into the season. You won a World Series, huge catharsis with all of that. You start spring training earlier than everybody else after that. You have to go play all the way around the world in Tokyo for a couple games. Like, the Dodgers, I'm sure, are a little bit like tired, and you're going on the road to Philly where that place is pumped up and they've been looking forward to this reason. For the Dodgers, it's like, man, like, so I'm not surprised that they're hitting a little bit of a skid. Like, it's not going to go beautiful all the time, but I'm frustrated with what the skid looks like. It's been some pretty sloppy play. So not great. Also not particularly worried. Glad we have Colorado for 3 starting this week. That's, typically a pretty good remedy.
Yeah. Yeah. Pick the Dodgers in Survivor this week, by the way.
That's literally what I'm doing right now, because I was planning on it and I forgot to submit my pick.
You picked them already, didn't you? No, you didn't. No, you didn't pick them yet.
Right now.
No, you picked the Yankees. That's who you picked the Yankees first.
Yeah.
And I did not pick which I probably should have. But anyway, but yeah, the Dodgers are going to be fine. I mean, the Dodgers are, they've gone through, I would say a relatively decent schedule, right? Playing the Cubs.
Oh, for sure.
Like, playing the Phillies. Like, it's not like they're losing, it's not like how, the stretch that the Red Sox are on right now, where they're losing series to like Tampa Bay, Toronto, and the White Sox. Like, it's a different sort of animal as far as the Dodgers are concerned. And they will rebound as they, continue to get healthier and get better as the season progresses. They'll settle in and everything will be fine. It's not tear down time yet, I don't think, in Dodger land. So the Yankees have been a fairly frustrating team for about a week and a half. It's a lot of, I share a lot of the same sentiment. I think that there's the Yankees and Dodgers have been a little bit similar in a lot of ways, but I think in sort of different facets. The Yankees right now have the worst starting pitching ERA in baseball. They have a starting pitching ERA of like 5.4. They are just not getting quality starts out of virtually anyone except for Max Fried. And Max Fried has been excellent. And, I don't think that can be understated. He's been very good. Will Warren has actually been fairly good to start the year as well. But this was brought up on the Yankee broadcast tonight. They're playing tonight against the Royals. They're tied in the 4th. But the Yankees, not only do they have the highest starting pitching ERA in baseball right now, they have the highest walk rate of any team in baseball. They have like a 12.6 or something % walk rate. That's the highest in the bigs. I think Major League average, and it's up from years past. Major League average is about like 9 right now. So there's a pretty significant discrepancy. The Yankees are simply walking too many batters. They're seeing pitchers without much command early on in the season. And that points to guys like, and those are guys that these are guys that they're depending on that are not throwing a ton of strikes, right? Carlos Rodon in particular, right? Rodon's actually been fairly good. He's striking out hitters, right? He's not giving up too many long balls. He's not giving up too many hits, but he's walking guys and they're making him pay for it, right? Like that's the thing that needs to get fixed. The other thing I want to bring up about as far as pitching is concerned, I think Yankee fans need to calm down a little bit on Devin Williams, right? Like Devin Williams has not looked the best to begin the year. Here's a couple of things I want to say about that. First of all, Devin Williams does not seem to be panicking about it, right? This is also not the first time that Devin Williams has struggled early on in the year. For a pitcher like him, where he's not chucking 100, like there's a lot of finesse to Devin Williams' game. He just needs to find stuff. He'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. The bullpen as a whole has not been great, right? They'll figure it out. Luke Weaver obviously is not a concern, but you have like Fernando Cruz needs to figure it out a little bit. I think he will, right? Mark Leiter Jr. has been kind of up and down. I think he'll be fine. Like as the season progresses, I just don't think that the bullpen is going to be that much of a problem. It's if you can get the starting pitching back on track, right? So you need guys like Clark Schmidt is making his first start of the season on Wednesday. That's a big get back, right? That probably means that Cookie Carrasco gets DFA'd and he enters into that rotation as an upgrade in that respect, right? When Luis Gil comes back, I would love it. Again, Dalton and I have talked about this several occasions that Luis Gil takes Marcus Stroman's spot, but I just have a feeling that it's probably not going to be the case. We'll see. But again, I think they'll be okay. As Dalton said, it is April 14th. Everything will sort of even itself out. I know 8-7 is not really the attractive record that people were looking to see early on in the season, but the problems that the Yankees are having right now are fixable. And, it's frustrating, but I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Last week when we talked about the Yankees, I was like, look, you're kind of right where you want to be early on. This is a team where you need to tread water, stay above 500, just play well enough until you start to get healthier later on. I still feel that way for the most part. Now, I think the fact that, you've lost 3 out of 4 series is frustrating, and that those have come against the, Giants and Tigers over the last week. We were going to talk about both those teams have started hot, but, you'd like to see more. And I think, but at least with the Yankees, it's very clear what's going on there. It's starting pitching. So hopefully those guys can figure it out. If not, down the line, you should have reinforcements coming pretty soon.
Yeah. If Schmidt and Gil will come back, if the rotation is still struggling, they won't hesitate to add an arm in the summer. You know what I mean? I don't think the Yankees will be in a position to sell or anything like they will be fine. They will be fine. And again, you and I both know this. Offense in this sport is like this. You know what I mean? Like the Yankees started out the season just hitting the absolute cover off the baseball, right? And then for 3 days straight, they couldn't hit water out of a boat. It's, things start to even out. Now, again, you'd like to see that you'd like to see a little bit more of an upswing at this point now too. But you're getting quality at bats from guys like Ben Rice, right? You're getting quality at bats from fucking Paul Goldschmidt. These guys are still hitting. You know what I mean? So if you can get Judge back to, Judge has had a tough couple of days. He'll get back to where he's normally at. Bellinger will have a hot streak at some point in the summer. It'll all work out. So I'm not really overly worried about that. Let's give you a score update before we head into the topics for the day. As I said before, Yankees and Royals right now tied at 1 in the top of the 5th. Bobby Witt and Jazz Chisholm exchanging home runs in that game, making that game 1-1. That's Cookie Carrasco and Seth Lugo. If we, Carrasco's going to duel with him, I think that feels pretty good. Pirates right now up on the Nationals 5-2 in Pittsburgh in the top of the sixth. The Giants right now are ahead of the Phillies in Philadelphia 6-4 heading into the sixth. The Rays have a 14-1 lead over the Red Sox right now in Tampa Bay at George M. Steinbrenner Field. Tanner Houck in 2 1/3 gave up 10 hits, 10 earned, 12 runs total. He was shelled today by the Tampa Bay Rays. So they're up in the bottom of the third. The Rays are up 14-1. The Atlanta Braves here having a good offensive day. 8-0 right now in Toronto against the Blue Jays. They're up in the bottom of the fifth. Mets and Twins are still scoreless in the top of the third in Minnesota. The Tigers up right now 4-0 on the Brewers heading into the fourth. Tyler Alexander getting roughed up a little bit over there for Milwaukee. And then Houston and the Cardinals still scoreless in the top of the third. Later on tonight, the Cubs play the Padres in San Diego. That's Jamison Tyone and Dylan Cease, both off to not great starts to begin the year, but that's a pitching matchup to look forward to as well. And then the Rockies play the Dodgers a little bit later tonight at about 10 o'clock Eastern. Antonio Senzatella and Dustin May getting the start for the Dodgers in that game as well. So we'll provide another score update a little bit later in the show. But let's start with this, Dalton. So the Minnesota Twins, they have had, again, just seemingly a really disappointing start to the season. 5-11 to start the year. This is a team that you and I both picked to win the division to begin the year. The Tigers have been fairly good. The Guardians have been average. The Royals have been average. It's not like they're playing in a super duper hot division. I mean, we obviously have our expectations for what the AL Central is like, but they're only a half game up on the White Sox right now for last place. Dalton, what's going on here? Why can't the Twins figure it out? What's going on with them?
So in general for the Twins, they're a team that has to be good offensively, and they just haven't been. You look at most offensive stats, WRC, they're like 26th. They've hit like 10 or 12 home runs this season. Like they're not hitting. And when they are hitting, it's like they'll put together a big inning every once in a while, but there's too much swing and miss, and there are too many just dead offensive innings. And then on the pitching side, like Chris Paddock has already had a couple blow up outings. Bailey Ober's blown up once or twice already. Like I think their pitching will come around. Like I think the starting pitching will improve as the season goes along. Like I trust Pablo Lopez when he's healthy. I trust Joe Ryan. Paddock and Ober, I think, are good enough that like they're serviceable back half guys.
Right.
And Simeon Woods Richardson, most of the time, has looked pretty good. So like I think the rotation has the pieces in place to be decent enough.
Right.
I think the bullpen has pieces in place to be decent enough, but they have to hit. And, I watch a good bit of the Twins living here in Minnesota, and I went and saw them live, obviously, like last weekend. The biggest issue with that team in general right now is there seems to be kind of a lack of fire. And it's both in the dugout and how the players seem to approach the games day in and day out. And it's seeping into the fan base too. Target Field is seeing some of its lowest attendance numbers ever right now, as the team is just really kind of floundering. And people here in the Twin Cities are frustrated because they're looking at a team that has enough talent to be pretty good, but isn't. There are two things that they're not doing. Number one, they're not investing that extra bit to get themselves over the top.
Right. Yeah.
And then secondly, it doesn't seem like there's a level of like fight that you'd expect from a team. You don't have to be the Padres and be super rah to the point where it comes off as phony, but like you should see more energy than you're seeing out of that team day in and day out. To me, it starts to beg the question of Rocco Baldelli, the manager. He's really well loved in that clubhouse. I've heard nothing but good things about Rocco as a guy. The problem is that when you've got a good guy, laid back, easygoing manager leading a team that needs a fire lit under its ass, I'm just not sure if that's the right guy for this team right now.
Right.
And we've seen it work before, like the Phillies when they switched to Rob Thompson early in the season a couple years ago. We've seen this before where a team changes the voice in the locker room and the team's performance follows. I wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota ended up in a situation where they were getting rid of Rocco Baldelli and hiring somebody else. I'm also going to make a suggestion for who they should hire, and I'm only half joking. Ozzie Guillen.
Wow.
Like, I think a team like that right now needs to hire a lunatic. And that guy's a lunatic, and he's a lunatic of a competitor. I would love to see that. So I also think Ozzie Guillen would love to go to a White Sox division rival and just stick it to the White Sox at this point. But,
I didn't know why you said you were half joking. I don't think that would be too terrible of a decision. Honest to God.
Well, I mean,
like he's been out of the game for a long time, but like
that's the concern.
Let's be real. You know what I mean? Like I don't know that would be. Who are you gonna? Who's out that you're gonna hire? Like I don't know the Giants hitting coach is the like. What are you gonna do? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, well, at this point, I think whoever you hire needs to be like kind of a loud ass. Like you know what I mean? It can't be a nice guy. It's got to be somebody who's going to get after these guys a little bit. Because I think that's the problem with the Twins is there's this feel in the ballpark, in the clubhouse, throughout the organization right now that they're kind of just going through the motions. And I get it. It's kind of a challenging time. You're looking at a potential ownership change here. There's financial concerns around the team.
Right.
I get it. But it feels like this year's team should be competitive. So that's where I think they should go.
I'm kind of with you, and I think that it's honestly realistic. Like this is not something that is like it probably won't happen. I could actually see it happening if this season doesn't go well for the Twins. Right, they miss the postseason again. Right, they finish in third or fourth place in the division, and they miss the playoffs. This is the last year of Rocco Baldelli's contract. There's a chance that they don't even fire him. Just don't bring him back.
Yeah,
like make it easy. You know what I mean? Or even, if you wanted to actually get a head start on this thing, because it's the last year of his deal, mid-season, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen often, but at the same time, it's like, it's not like you're going to be like you're overly committed to Rocco Baldelli, for the next 5-6 years, and you got to eat a significant amount of money. You've already paid him his money.
Right.
So I don't think that that's overly unrealistic. And I'm 100% with you, by the way, on a fiery manager. If there's just some sort of complacency in the organization right now, there's a complacency in the dugout. There's just a body language problem. Obviously, players are very much underperforming. I mean, Carlos Correa has had a terrible start to the year. Byron Buxton has had a bad start to the year. Like if the only guy on your team that's hitting right now is Ty freaking France, you have a legit issue. You've got a real legit issue. So, and this is a team that was expected to have some bats, right? Like Matt Wallner can hit, Correa can hit, Buxton can hit, Ryan Jeffers can hit. Like these guys are real big league contributors at the plate. So the fact that it's not going well in a weak division is a real problem. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, and again, I'm trying to think who else. Like if it's not Ozzie Guillen, like now I'm just trying to have fun, right? Like if it's not Ozzie Guillen, I'm trying to think who would be like a fiery. I don't know. Sean Casey spent a little bit of time with the Yankees like a couple of years ago. And I'm not saying that he should jump in and be a manager, but you're talking about a guy with a little bit of a fiery personality, but I think that's kind of that's the type of guy you're looking for, is somebody that comes in with a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And again, maybe Sean Casey isn't as much of a disciplinarian as they need, but these are also grown men. So I don't know what really the answer is there.
Yeah, they just need some kind of infusion of energy. Like right now, Danny Colomb, the left-handed reliever, has recorded more WAR than their entire offensive team except Harrison Bader and Matt Wallner.
Yeah.
They're just not scoring. I mean, like their relievers have been more valuable to them so far than their hitters have. the biggest bright spot for Minnesota so far this year, Joe Ryan looks excellent. He looks awesome.
Yeah. My whatever it was, 6th round fantasy draft pick doesn't look terrible for him now. My accidental draft pick of Joe Ryan when I meant to take Julio Rodriguez, and I ended up getting Julio Rodriguez the very following round, which was incredible. It's disappointing because they do love. I mean, I have an uncle that grew up in Minnesota. They love the Twins all over the state. Like, it's not just like a Minneapolis thing. Like, all of Minnesota loves the Twins.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you can stretch it westward too. I mean, the Dakotas root for the Twins. You know, a lot of people in Iowa root for the Twins. They've got a big footprint in this area, and I think, I mean, it's just tough. Like because I'm telling you, the sports fans up here, they don't have it's not like they can drive an hour down the road and go watch a different team, right? So like, you have really huge like committed fan bases up here for the Twins and the Vikings and the Wild and the Timberwolves. And it's just like, which team is going to stop letting them down? Like, which one's going to be the first one to finally really step out and fully go for it? I'm hoping it's the Twins, but we'll see.
I hope it's the Twins too. I've always had a soft spot for the Twins for that exact reason. I've got family that dawns from out there, but again, we'll see. I do agree with you though. I think it is maybe time for a new manager over there, just a new head honcho.
By the way, one note on the timing that I think they should go with on it. Twins have a tough schedule this week. You're hosting the Mets, and then you go on the road to Atlanta. I think if this week doesn't go particularly well, right? Let's say you go 2-4. That to me is when you pull the trigger and you set up the new guy with a soft landing with a 3-game set at home with the White Sox, 3-game set at home with the Angels. Like, that's how you can reset the energy in that clubhouse is let's get a new voice in here. Let's beat the hell out of 2 bad teams at home next week.
Right.
Like that's where you can quickly turn the attitude of a season. So that's my last comment on it. But,
no, I think that's a good point as well. Okay, so let's move on to this. So we've got, as I mentioned before, there's 3 teams really in baseball right now that have kind of started on a fairly solid plane to start the year. And all 3 of the, actually, no, I'm lying. 2 of the 3 teams right now I'm talking about are in first place. The Giants right now sitting in second place behind the San Diego Padres in the NL West. The Padres have been great to start the year at 13-3. But the Giants right now, which I think is a little bit more surprising, they've started the year at 11-4. They just took 2 or 3 from the Yankees again. And every time I could see it home, just here from home. Let's talk the Detroit Tigers, I think, can be mentioned in that conversation as well. They've started the season 9-6. They're sitting at first place in the AL Central. And the LA Angels right now.
Anaheim Angels.
I knew you were going to say it. As soon as I said it, I was going to hold back. But the Angels right now sitting at 9-6. They are in first place in the AL West. It is April 14th, right? It's still super, super early. We have 147 games left to go. But they've had some nice... They've played some pretty solid baseball to start the year. Are you buying any of these teams? Are you selling them? And if so, who do you like?
Yeah, so these 3 teams in question that are surprising us, Tigers, Giants, Angels, I am buying the Tigers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
This is a team that they got swept in LA to start the season, but those were competitive games. Like, they didn't look that overmatched in that series. I think the Tigers have actually taken that next step. And I think that they're very much live to win this division, especially with the games that Minnesota's playing right now. And Detroit came into Minnesota and won 2 out of 3 this weekend. I mean, you think about Detroit, they've already gone on the road to Seattle, won 2 out of 3, took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, took 2 out of 3 in Minnesota. Outside of that Dodgers series, they've been dominant. I mean, I didn't mention the sweep of the White Sox because they're the White Sox, but they've really been dominant outside of that series in LA. And a lot of it is that their young pitching is really starting to come into its own.
Right.
Like, obviously, we know what Tarek Skubal is, but man, Casey Mize, former top pick, we're starting to see it, right? He's starting to figure it out. 2-1 with a 2.60 so far, whip right around 1. He's been excellent for them. Jack Flaherty back in Detroit has been really good for them. Jackson Jobe, the rookie, still kind of figuring it out, but the numbers are starting to look good there too.
Yep.
And then Reese Olson, there's not a starter in this rotation that you're like, oh, that's a number 5 starter. Like that's a guy we should beat, right?
Yeah.
They're all solid. And there's more talent behind those guys too, coming up through the minors. Like they have some depth pitching wise in that organization.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm a believer in what the Tigers are doing. Like, you and I talked about it preseason. The question for them was going to be, can they hit? And I still think that's the question for them. But I mean, the starts that they're getting from some of these guys, like Dylan Dingler hitting the cover off the ball at catcher, Spencer Torkelson finally starting to hit for some power.
Yeah, right.
Like they look formidable to me. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green both look awesome. Like, I think this team's actually pretty good. So, I mean, yeah, I'm buying the Tigers. I'm selling the Angels. I mean, come on. Like, we know how the story goes. They've started a lot before. They're 9-6. I think the Angels are going to be bad, and it's not going to take that long. But, I do want to call out, like, Kyron Paris. What an awesome start to his career for them. Mike Trout, 6 homers already. Cool to see him healthy. Logan Alhoppy's hitting. So, I mean, everything has to click right for the Angels to be competitive. So far it is. I don't think it'll continue.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I am 1,000% buying the Tigers. I am. And for a lot of the reasons that you said as well, they are getting legit offensive production up and down the order. They really are. Riley Green is, and Riley Green has not had a great start, but Riley Green is going to at some point turn it around. Spencer Torkelson has been their best bat so far. He's been great to start the year. I mean, you're looking at guys like Javi Baez is hitting near 300, right? Trey Sweeney has been really solid for them. Zach McKinstry has been really solid for them. Like they're getting good at bats from a lot of guys. I think that you could see a little bit of a struggle defensively from this team. I don't think that they're a very good defensive team. Because you're going to be getting a lot of defensive innings from Gleyber Torres, from Colt Keith, right? Guys that are just not great defensive players. But this is definitely a team that is showing what they're capable of offensively. And this is a rotation that could be beyond awesome. This is a rotation that can be flat gross, right? We already know what Tarek Skubal is. Jack Flaherty, we already know what he's capable of being, right? Casey Mize was a former top prospect in baseball and finally looking like he was what he was supposed to be. Jackson Jobe is the top pitching prospect in baseball currently. Like, if all of this kind of comes to fruition, I almost see like the Tigers having no problem winning this division, to be honest. Like, this could be a situation where like we're not really that into the Guardians. The Royals have had a fairly average start. The Twins have been disappointing. I mean, the Tigers could, if all things go the way they're going now, the Tigers could run with this division the way things are going.
Mike, I think there's a world where the Tigers have value to win the American League.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Because you think about you think about the number of games they get to play in this division. If they dominate this division and they finish with 92, 93 wins, that might be enough to get you home field advantage throughout the AL playoffs.
Right.
And if you're having to go into Detroit in the cold in October and face Tarek Skubal and the rest of this rotation in a playoff series, like if they're hitting at all, that's not going to be a very fun team to face.
No.
So I think like, once you get to the postseason, obviously like anything can happen, but I don't think it's that absurd in a wide open American League to pick a team like the Tigers right now to come out of it. Like, I think they look that good. Now, look, we're 15 games in. This could all fall apart by the time we talk in 2 weeks, or it might be 3 weeks. So I got my honeymoon coming up, but like for now, man, I'm pretty bought in.
Yeah, no, I'm into it. I'm with you on the Angels. Let's talk about the Giants for a second. So the Giants right now are right smack dab in the middle of a 10-game road trip, right? So they've got their just starting a 4-game series in Philadelphia. They just took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees in New York, and then they fly over to Anaheim to go play the Angels before they go back home to play Milwaukee. Okay. They've swept the Mariners. They've swept the Astros. I mean, are we in on the Giants? Are you more in on the Giants or more out on the Giants right now, Dalton?
So, I mean, I'm pretty out. Look, I think the Giants are not a bad team. Like, I think the Angels are a bad team that started hot.
Yeah.
I think the Giants are like a league average team that started hot.
Yeah.
And I think the big problem for the Giants is the division they play in. You know, they're just going to be really hard pressed to hold off the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and then obviously the Dodgers. So I have real concerns about the Giants' staying power. I also think, like, when you look at some of their starting pitching, like Jordan Hicks hasn't looked great. Justin Verlander has looked pretty washed. So you really need, like, Robbie Ray, if he stays healthy, he's looked good, but like
Logan Webb got roughed up the other day.
Do you trust Robbie Ray to stay healthy? I don't.
Right.
Like Logan Webb, I think we know what he is. He's
good.
You know, I think he's like a fringe 1-2 starter, right? Like a low end base.
Right.
And I think the bullpen for them has been really solid, right? I mean, obviously Ryan Walker's nasty. They've got the 2 Rogers guys, you know. So like, I think they're decent. I don't think they're great, but I mean, Jung-Hoo Lee is a lot of fun. He's been unbelievable for them, and I'm sure they missed having him last year.
Sure.
Big guy. You know, Willie Adam, like a positive thing that I'll say for the Giants, Willie Adames has started the season ice cold. Elliot Ramos has started the season ice cold. Those were supposed to be your 2 best offensive players.
Right.
So the fact that like those 2 guys aren't producing a ton outside of a few homers for Ramos, and you're still winning games, is a good sign.
Yeah.
Before the season, I would have said they're maybe a 73, 74 win team. I think they're probably an 80, 82 win team.
Yeah.
So like I've upgraded my thoughts on them a bit, but they're not going to contend for the division, and they're probably not going to contend for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm impressed by them for that reason. The fact that Adames has not been great, Ramos has not been great. They've gotten a good start out of Mike Yastrzemski, right? Like they're getting some production from guys that, you know, you wouldn't really expect. Obviously, Jung-Hoo Lee was one of their big signings last year, got hurt, missed almost the entire season, and has come out really, really swinging. I mean, he killed the Yankees the other day. So he's an impressive player. I'm excited to see him play a little bit more. The NL West is remarkable to me. The Padres right now are 13-3. The Giants are 11-4. The Dodgers are 11-6. The Diamondbacks are 9-7. Like, that's unbelievable. And that's it. I think, like, outside of where the Giants are today, like, I think most people expected the division to be that way. Like, it was just going to be a fucking bloodbath throughout the year, with the Dodgers leading the way, of course, but, you know, for the rest of these teams outside of the Rockies to just beat the ever-loving hell out of each other, you know, throughout the season, God bless you. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting the way that that's all sort of played out. Let's move to the Cubs. So right now, Cubs are 11-7. They've been pretty good to start the year. They obviously started the season in Japan with the Dodgers, and they've done fairly well. They just took 2 out of 3 in LA against the Dodgers. They took 2 out of 3 from the Rangers. They took 2 out of 3 from the Padres. They swept the A's. You know, this is, you know, and then they split a series with the Diamondbacks to start the year. I mean, they're hitting the ever-loving hell out of the baseball. I mean, you posed the question to me this way, and I'm going to ask it to you that way. Are we sort of undervaluing the Cubs to win the division, or maybe even potentially undervaluing the Cubs to win the National League?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. What prompted me to ask this question is, you know, I watched them a good bit against the Dodgers, And then you look at their body of work this season, and they've been really good.
Yeah.
And I look around their division, and it's 4 other very flawed teams. And I think the Cubs just are all around significantly better than the rest of their division. And they already have the leg up on their division, despite the fact that this is a team that's playing a pretty tough early season schedule.
Yeah.
And so that's where, for me, like, I want to see what happens in San Diego, because right now the Cubs are minus 120 to win that division.
Yeah.
San Diego is hot. Like, that's one of the series that we're most looking forward to. That's going to be a tough series for the Cubs. But, like, if they go in there and lose 2 out of 3, then I think we start to see the buy sign flash, like, in a serious way on them. But the other thing with the Cubs, just in general, that has me buying in, listen to this April schedule. Dodgers in Tokyo for 2, at Arizona for 4, in Sacramento for 3, home against San Diego for 3, home against Texas for 3, at Dodgers for 3, at San Diego for 3, home against Arizona for 3, home against the Dodgers for 2, home against the Phillies for 3. Like, that, like, outside of the series in Sacramento that they dominated,
Brutal.
that is a murderer's row. Like, those are all expected to be playoff teams.
Yeah, brutal.
And you think about the fact that, like, by the time they get to the end of April, they'll be done with the Dodgers, done with the Padres, done with Arizona, halfway done with Philly, halfway done with the Braves for the season. If, like, right now they're minus 120 to win the division, I would bet them at that number comfortably. But there's a chance that, like, maybe they struggle a little bit the rest of April, and I'm not going to blink an eye with them. Like, I think there's a chance that this team by the end of April maybe finishes right around 500 because the schedule is brutal.
Right.
And then maybe you can get them like plus 150 all of a sudden to win that division before they go into a portion of their schedule that is Pirates, Brewers, Giants, Mets, Marlins, White Sox, Marlins, Reds, Rockies, Reds, Nationals. Like, that schedule gets way soft in May. And so
they're getting everybody good early on. Like,
and they're 11-7.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, if I'm a Cubs fan, I'm like obnoxiously excited right now.
So here's the question I have for you, right? They just lost Justin Steele for the season.
Mm-hmm.
How much does that impact them going forward? Because that's one of their, and he hasn't had a great start to begin the year, obviously. Unfortunately, he's out for the season, so this is what he's going to end up with. But, I mean, this could be a team that's in need for a top-tier starter, at some point during the year. How much does Justin Steele being out for the season negatively impact them?
I mean, it definitely matters, right? Like, Justin Steele's very good. But I look overall, and you still have Shota Imanaga, who's a solid ace at the top of the rotation.
Right.
Ben Brown looks pretty for real, at least he did against the Dodgers. Matthew Boyd hadn't allowed a run before that game against the Dodgers, and he still pitched well in that game.
Right.
And then, can you get serviceable innings from Jameson Taillon and Colin Ray? I think you can. And so, to me, I think this team's going to hit well enough that what I look at as a pretty average starting rotation will carry them to a good enough record that by the time we get into trade season, they're going to be aggressive. Mm-hmm. And, you and I have talked about the names that are likely to be available. Sandy Alcantara, like, they're going to be in that market. Yeah. And they have the prospect capital to be in that market. My thing with the Cubs, man, like, just watching them offensively, I'm just super impressed. Like, Ian Happ has always been a really solid big leaguer, but, man, Pete Crow Armstrong looks like a star. Like,
yeah, he's a stud.
Looks like a legitimate star. Kyle Tucker looks like one of the best hitters in baseball.
Yeah, he's crazy.
And then you look down the line, like Swanson, Suzuki, Horner, Michael Busch hit 2 more homers this weekend. I think Matt Shaw will eventually figure it out, but
Miguel Amaya and Carson Kelly are both very well. Yeah, really good.
So, I mean, I just think that this team has developed something pretty strong here. And if they supplement it at all mid-season, they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. And I think that they're going to be – I'll put it this way. I wouldn't be – like, if they can get out of April in first place in that division somehow, I wouldn't be surprised if they finish June 12 games up in that division.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, I mean, especially given the division that they play in, it's not like they're really running from anybody, right? Like, I think we all kind of think like the Cincinnati Reds are not terrible. The Brewers might not be terrible, but like, we're putting the Cubs in the same sort of conversation as the Padres and Philadelphia and all these other teams. So that matters. I mean, that's really something. Going into the season as well. They're already, by the way, they're already talking about Kyle Tucker and his free agency and whether or not the Cubs will extend him. Um, and you've got like Passan and Tim Kirchin and guys like that are all saying like, I don't know that this is, that he might be out of the Cubs price range with how he's playing right now. He's going to get $550 million. By the way, just so I throw this out there again, like I have, it depends on how you really value the money in baseball, but like given the current market, right? You and I talked about it last week when Vladdy Jr. got extended that I didn't think Vladdy Jr. was a $500 million player.
No.
Kyle Tucker is a $500 million player.
Significantly, he's a significantly more valuable player than Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Oh, it's not even close. It's not even Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker is one of the, I don't know, what, 7 or 8 best players in the whole game?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I was having this conversation with a friend of mine this weekend. Like, there's this certain class of hitters that's like the elite of the elite, which is like, to me, Judge, Ohtani, Soto, Betts, and maybe Bobby Witt.
Right.
To me, Kyle Tucker's right there in that next class with guys like Rafi Devers that are like very much $500 million players.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think he is. And again, he's a well-rounded, like, I mean, obviously Yankee fans are obnoxious and they're saying, oh, Kyle Tucker's better than Juan Soto because, like he's well-rounded. He steals bases. He plays defense. But again, like, and I'm not saying he's better than Juan Soto or anything, but that does kind of qualify.
I don't think it's that crazy of a take.
No, I don't think it's like Juan Soto's ether's better, but there's a real conversation to be had that like the fact that Kyle Tucker is a Gold Glove caliber outfielder, the fact that he's great on the base paths, he steals bases, and he still hits 300 with 35 home runs every year. Like, are we like, there's a real conversation. Like, that's not too far away from like Bobby Witt Jr. And we talk about Bobby Witt Jr. as if he's, in that next class outside of Ohtani and Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, I think when you look at the overall value of Kyle Tucker, you could make an argument that he's on par with Soto. Like, I'd still take Soto, and I think you would too, but
yeah,
it's not that crazy.
No, it's not.
So, yeah.
No, it really isn't. And you bring up a good point there. So, so we've got a pretty nice week looking forward here of baseball. We've got some pretty solid series. What's something that you're kind of looking forward to here coming into this week? Again, we're in the early part, so this is where we can kind of have a little bit of fun with this, where, like there's not huge playoff aspirations or anything like that yet. We're just kind of having fun playing ball at this point. So what are some of the series that you're looking forward to this week?
Yeah, there were actually 5 different series that I texted you that I'm excited about.
Yeah.
And I want to just mention each one a little bit because I think that these are all series that are going to teach us a little bit.
Yeah.
Cubs going to San Diego out on the heels of that Dodgers series. This is a red hot Cubs team, red hot Padres team, probably the 2 hottest teams in baseball overall. So I'm really excited to see how that all shakes out. Obviously I would love to see the Cubs go in there and win a couple and kind of knock the Padres down a peg, but
yeah. Right.
Those should be
both
great
in the standings and morally, I think you'd like to see that.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that'll be great baseball. Giants are heading to Philadelphia. That's another series that's going to be awesome in terms of like, hey, Giants, you want to prove it? Go win in Philly.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot like we're getting into some really fun portions of the schedule as we learn more about these teams, because when you learn more about the teams you have more context to get excited about. Dodgers heading to Texas to play the Rangers will be fun this weekend.
That'll be a fun one.
Hopefully the Dodgers can learn how to hit again against the Rockies before they go over to Arlington.
Corey Seager revenge tour right there. maybe.
We already saw Arizona and Chicago play an awesome series at Chase Field that they split 2-2 earlier this year.
Yeah.
Arizona will be at Wrigley this weekend to face that same hot Cubs team. Again, this Cubs schedule is a gauntlet right now. So if they can just survive it, they're going to be in really good shape.
Yeah.
And then Padres heading to Houston this weekend in a battle of two franchises that I find generally very unlikable. But Houston kind of needs to start putting some wins together. I think that there's a decent amount of panic among fans there. I think some of it's a little bit unwarranted. They're 7-8. It's not like they're 3-13, but
no, guys and falling, but yeah.
But they've struggled. And they've struggled against like not that amazing of a start of the season in terms of their schedule either.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think the Astros have a lot to prove hosting San Diego, and that should be a really fun series as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting swept by the Giants, I think, really kind of hurt them early on in the year. But like they took 2 out of 3 from the Mets. They took 2 out. I mean, obviously the Twins have been pretty disappointing, but they took 2 out of 3 in Minnesota. They took 2 out of 3 from the Angels, who have, again, we don't think very highly of the Angels, but they've been playing good baseball to start. So I think the Astros will eventually figure it out. Obviously, being 7-8, that early on in the season is not pretty, but
it's also not
falling. Right. It's not terrible. It's not the end of the world. Like, I think we could honestly just say, like, we would feel way more comfortable if the Astros and Angels just switched places, right? Well, the Astros would be 9-6, and the Angels would be 7-8. I think, there wouldn't be much of a discussion in that park right there. But all right, let's move to another score update. By the way, again, this is like my favorite part of doing this show. By the way, Yankees right now leading the Royals in Kansas City. Not in Kansas City, in the Bronx. They're leading 4-1. Yankees with 4 home runs on the day today, by the way, heading into the bottom of the 7th. The Pirates right now with a 5-3 lead over the Nationals in Pittsburgh in the bottom of the 8th. Giants, again, we talked about how hot the Giants are. Giants up right now 8-4 on the Phillies in Philadelphia in the bottom of the 7th. They've had a fairly nice day. Tyler Fitzgerald and Willie Adames and Mike Yastrzemski all with homers in that game. So Giants right now leading the Phillies 15-1 Rays right now in Tampa Bay over the Red Sox. The Red Sox, let's touch on that for a second, because last week we talked about the Red Sox and how they looked really, really solid. Before yesterday's win against the White Sox, they lost 5 out of 6.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing how this sport changes in that respect. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Blue Jays and lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox in Chicago. Like, they just had a terrible stretch of games. Is there real concern in that respect, or is it just early season, woes?
I mean, I think that the pitching is where my real concern is. Like,
yeah,
you allowed 15 runs tonight. You gave up 11 runs to the White Sox the other night. Like, I think they're running into like some of the pitching thinness that we referred to preseason with them is starting to cost them a little bit. I still think this team is good enough offensively that like they're going to contend. I'm still believing in them.
Yeah.
But you can't really look at a series loss to the White Sox and like paint it in pretty colors. Like that can't happen.
That can't happen. Yeah. Right. You lose a series to the Rockies or you lose a series to the White Sox. Like, those are some teams that you really can't lose to.
Right.
Whatever.
The Rockies, by the way, did not score a run all weekend in San Diego. I don't know if you saw that.
I think the Rockies are the worst offensive team in baseball right now. Like, I forget what the number was. Oh, here's what I saw. Again, fun Yankee stat. What do you know? Coming from me. I believe Aaron Judge, as of like 2 days ago, had as many home runs as the Rockies, or as many RBI. No, it was RBIs. As many RBIs on the season as the Rockies. He's got like 17 or 18 RBIs on the season at that point. And the Rockies, I believe, had less. Like,
you play your home games at Coors Field.
like that's just bizarre. But so yes, 15-1 right now. The Rays are kicking the hell out of the Red Sox. Braves right now up 8-1 heading into the bottom of the 8th against the Blue Jays in Toronto. Mets took the lead against the Twins in Minnesota. It's 1-0 there. How did that run get scored? Pete Alonso with an RBI single in that game. Tigers up 9-0 right now on the Brewers in Milwaukee. Again, another one of these teams that we talked about being hot, and they're continuing to stay hot. Who's pitching right now for the Brewers? It's Derek Skubal. Yeah. Right now, he is perfect gaming the Brewers right now through 4 innings. I won't, sorry for jinxing him, but the Cardinals right now have a 4-0 lead in St. Louis against the Astros in the top of the 5th. Like we said earlier, Cubs and Padres a little bit later tonight. Jameson Taillon and Dylan Cease on the bump for that one, and then the Rockies and Dodgers from Chavez Ravine at about 10 o'clock Eastern time. Antonio Senzatella and Dustin May on the bump for that one. All right. You got picks tonight, Dalton? What are you feeling?
I think the only real pick for me is going to be that Cubs to win the division pick. Like, I do think that price is worth jumping on right now. It could get better and maybe a double dip on it, but I do think that price is already worth looking at. I'm glancing at tomorrow's board of games now that those odds are up while we're talking. I think Philly tomorrow -145 is not a very high price for them against San Francisco. I think we're getting a San Francisco team that the market's a little bit inflated on. Yeah. Verlander's look terrible. I don't trust him to see much success on the road at Citizens Bank Park tomorrow night.
Luzardo's been out. Yeah,
Luzardo's outstanding. So I would lay the -145 with Philly. It's a little bit expensive, but I think that's a number worth taking there, especially because it looks like Philly is going to lose tonight. Meaning that they should have all of their high leverage arms available for tomorrow out of the bullpen as well. So I like Philly quite a bit on the money line there. Let's see, glancing down the board here. Tampa with Pepio over Buehler. I probably lean that way, -125, maybe more than I'd be dying to pay.
Yep.
Schwellenbach Gaussman will be a pretty fun pitching matchup tomorrow.
Schwellenbach has been great to start the year.
Yeah, he looks awesome. It really does. I think those are probably the two for me. Would be Cubs to win their division, and I feel pretty strongly about Philly tomorrow -145, especially if they lose tonight and don't use any of their big bullpen arms.
Yeah, Cubs and Padres pitching matchup tomorrow is Shota Imanaga and Randy Vasquez, who have both been really good to start the year.
Yeah,
so
I'm much more of a believer in Imanaga there.
Sure.
But this Padres offense has been pretty lethal, so we'll see.
It's been outstanding. By the way, can I just throw this out there as far as I just want to double check numbers here.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling that we're going to be legitimately talking about Michael King for the Cy Young.
Mm-hmm.
He's so gross. He's so gross. And is he a free agent? Is he?
I'm not sure of his contract status.
Let me see. I'm looking it up now. Michael King is a free agent. No, he has a mutual option for next year. He has a mutual option for next year for about 15 or so million. So, he could opt out of that and just become a free agent a year earlier.
Yeah. He's going to get paid. Whenever he decides that he's ready to get paid, he's going to get paid. So
bring him back. Come on.
I don't know.
Listen, kid grew up a Yankee fan. The kid loved it here. If the Yankees will be willing to pay him, do it. Find a way to do it. Okay, I'm done. All right, that does it for us. That's Dalton Brown. I'm Mike Guido. This is the Bicoastal Baseball Podcast on the Grid Network every Monday, 8 o'clock Eastern. We may or may not have a show next week. Are you going to be here next week?
No, I am going to be in the Dominican Republic for the next 2 Mondays on my honeymoon.
Oh, nice.
So
All right. I might have to find a replacement for one of those 2 Mondays. And we'll see how that goes.
Well, and I'll tell you this much too. So the second Monday there, the 28th, is the day that I get home. So if you want to do the show a different night 2 weeks from now, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you name the night, I'll make it happen.
Okay. All right. We'll figure something out there. But stay tuned for that. We'll have it posted and everything. But it's great to have you with us again. This is the Bicoastal Baseball Podcast on the Grid Network. That's Dalton Brown. I'm Mike Guido. We will see you guys at, not next week, but we'll see you guys at some point in the next couple of weeks. We'll see you.